was just Arn Anderson, the way he was just, where he just slipped off the rope. He was like a washed up little turtle on the beach. It was so fucking funny.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Arn Anderson, that was the best part of Dynamite. Look, run the intro, run it. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaos, and welcome to a new episode of Take It to the Table, hosted by Wrestling Republic. We are going to be talking about AEW Dynamite that just happened last night. Obviously, the fallout of what's come from that episode as well as spoilers for AEW Rampage that's coming up on Friday as a 2-hour special. Also, we're going to be talking about Tony Khan and doing a rap battle at the end of the AEW tapings. And of course, we're going to be going into our Honestly segment, and this one's going to be a bit of a doozy. I got quite a bit of feedback or blowback from my last episode, but this one, I'm very curious to see what people are going to say about this one. But yeah, without further ado, let's take it to the table. So, AEW Dynamite was on last night. The Grand Slam Dynamite, I must say, that first day that debuted in their biggest attendance in AEW history. It was at the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, Queens, New York to be exact. And yeah, it was a solid pay-per-view. I was about to say pay-per-view. It might as well have been. It was stacked. It was very good. It lived up to expectations. There was a bit of a lull in the middle. They feel like they blew their load right at the beginning of the show. I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, it was overall a solid show. So yeah, we're just gonna run down through some of the main points of the show. So they started off very strong with the dream match of dream matches: Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. I told you I was gonna start getting a bit right. And it was a non-title match. And yeah, this match had everything in it. It was crazy. It was hard hitting, counters, plenty of false finishes. Yeah, so many close calls. And yeah, it was back and forth. I actually predicted that it was going to be a draw, and it came up exactly how it did. So it was a 20-minute match, ended up in a draw, and yeah, it's just it's just building up more anticipation for their rematch. Hopefully next time it will be for the AEW title. And yeah, it was just great. Absolutely great. Everything that you would expect from a Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega match. And yeah, I was really surprised that they started off the show with that. But that just shows that, as the thing with AEW, they have such a stacked roster that they don't have to save that for the main event. And slowly Raw is actually starting to do that now, whereas with the 6-man tag, I was more than expecting that was going to be the main event, but they put that as the first match, and it worked out right. Even though there was some weirdness in terms of the finish with that, but either way, yeah, great solid match between Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. And then next matchup the next match was Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. That was pretty hard hitting with the return of Brandy Rhodes as well, looking good as always. 3 months postpartum. Is that the word? Postpartum. Yeah, 3 months after her pregnancy, and she's looking great. Love the little interaction she had when Malachi Black did his typical, he jumps off the ropes and sits down. Then Brandy Rhodes comes in and just sits right opposite him and just flips him off. Absolutely great. That was cool. There was a little flub in near the end where Arn Anderson got on the ring apron, and obviously he was trying to encourage Cody Rhodes, but it looked like the referee was saying to him, like, you're on the wrong side, you need to go to the opposite the ramp. So he was trying to get around there, but because the way the ring is set up and the turnbuckle, he couldn't. He had to go all the way around, and he lost grip and he fell off. It was hilarious. Luckily he was fine. and then he had to get up again, and then he get knocked off again, and it was just hilarious the way he just he was just on his it was just like that. It was like, what the fuck happened? Someone help me please, and but yeah, it was cool. Yeah, the crowd are really turning on Cody Rhodes. It's crazy. I mean, there was a few hints of boos in the crowd when he made his comeback last week. But yeah, it's crazy. Very, very interesting. So I hope they don't ignore it. You know, Miles will just turn Cody Rhodes heel, and leave Malachi Black, the anti-hero. Don't make him babyface. Like, it doesn't work. Just make him be not a tweener, but just an anti-hero type of thing. Yeah, it was. Imagine if they made him full face and he's out there high-fiving people and kissing babies and shit. Not bun that, man. No. Just leave him how it is, and then just carry on and turn Cody Rhodes heel. Now there's been rumblings on online, on the world of online, that Malachi Black could be what the Fiend was in terms of whoever he faces, they kind of turn heel. Any major person that he faces turns heel. I don't know if I would like that narrative, but yeah, this one just makes sense. Like, Cody Rhodes has had a good run in as a face, and he's like in the middle. That's why he doesn't come out the face side, or he comes out the heel side. He's just right in the middle. He's just neutral kind of thing. But yeah, I think now we should have like a full-fledged heel run for sure, definitely. But yeah, overall it was a good match, besides a little botch in near the end, and yeah, we'll see what happens next. So yeah, and then the next match was Darby Allin and Sting versus FTR. Great back and forth match, very good chemistry between them two teams, I should say, and yeah, it was just great. So Sting and Darby Allin won that match via the Scorpion Deathlock that Sting placed, and yeah, that was great. I just can't really fault it more. And then the main event was, of course, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Ruby Soho for the AEW Women's Championship. Now everyone knows that Ruby Soho won the AEW Women's Battle Royale at All Out, and she's the first person to win when going in as the Joker, and so she was guaranteed a women's title shot later down the line, which was tonight. Typical TV match, as you would expect. A little bit of interference from Britt Baker's Goonies. Ruby Soho obviously got a bit distracted, and then obviously she placed her in the lockjaw, which made Ruby Soho pretty much tap almost instantaneously. And yeah, it's that was it. So Ruby Soho is not the new AEW champion, World Women's Champion, but yeah, it was a great back and forth match, very good. And then, of course, everyone's favorite renegade is CM Punk came out and just cut a great promo. You know, he's all saying like, y'all want to CM Punk, maybe down the line you will get him sooner or later, but you know, Powerhouse Hobbs, your ass is mine, basically. He's ready for to face him on Rampage. So yeah, that was pretty good. So all in all, great solid show. Lived up to expectations. Like I said, it was a bit of a lull, like when it was the match between MJF and Brian Pillman. It was okay. It was standard MJF match. But for the most part, it was a great show. It wasn't overrun by a whole heap of segments. Yeah, it was just, I can't fault it. So all in all, solid 8 out of 10 for me. Yeah, then obviously we got the 2-hour Rampage show as well. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through all the spoilers for the AEW Rampage. So if you don't want to be seeing this, then obviously I put the little timestamps below. So you want to skip this part, but yeah, I'm going to be talking about the results of AEW Rampage that's happening this Friday night. It's a 2-hour special. So yeah, of course they taped AEW Rampage the same night as Dynamite, and the first match was CM Punk against Powerhouse Hobbs, and CM Punk won via pinfall. So yeah, he won by GTS, and yeah, pretty much it was that was it. Adam Cole and the Young Bucks against Christian Cage and Jurassic Express, and Adam Cole and the Young Bucks won the Super Click. They won that one. The Men of the Year, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky against the Inner Circle, and the Men of the Year won. They actually won that match. So yeah, that's that. Then it was Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz against the Private Party, the Butcher and the Blade, and Lucha Brothers and Santana and Ortiz won that match. Penelope Ford against Anna Jay, and Penelope Ford won that match. And John Moxley and Eddie Kingston against Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer in a lights out match. John Moxley and Eddie Kingston won that match. Okay, so yeah, that was all the matches there on AEW Dynamite. Still gonna watch it. Probably give my input on that. Even though I know how the matches went through, I don't know exactly what happened afterwards or anything. So yeah, I'm probably gonna give my 2 cents on that when it comes out on Friday. So. And shortly after the AEW Dynamite tapings last night, Tony Khan got called out by the Acclaimed. Yes, TK got called out by the Acclaimed. And if you follow the Acclaimed on Twitter, they basically said they were going to call out Tony Khan and challenge him to a rap battle. Yes, you heard right. TK in a rap battle against the Acclaimed. Now we all know the crazy history with the Acclaimed, mainly Carter. He basically said a rather few unsavory things during one time on AEW Dark, I believe, making jokes about or taking digs at people with mental health. People that's against the vaccine, all kinds of crazy stuff, and it got him in a lot of hot water. There was talks about him obviously being suspended for 2 months. However, that wasn't the case. He was gone for a little bit, but he wasn't gone for too long. There was obviously, he put his stuff up on eBay, his wrestling gear for sale, saying like, I don't need this anymore. So people were thinking he might have been fired, but obviously he's been back. Still, there's been a couple times on Dark as well that he comes out with these papers, and he's like, this has been approved by AEW management, and it's all this cookie cutter stuff, and it's freaking hilarious. They're leaning into it. I love it. Very good. I love the Acclaimed. But yeah, he came out, the Acclaimed came out and did a rap battle against Tony Khan. Tony Khan came out. Also, if you know your hip hop, Lil Uzi Vert was in attendance as well. So they said, yeah, you come out on stage. So yeah, Vert was in the crowd. He was obviously watching the show, and so yeah, he came out to support them. Vert was in the crowd. So Khan came out, but he asked for Vert to come out to offer some assistance, and and then Khan actually had a couple short verses for the Acclaimed, and he actually said at one point they're doing, he said, to all the clickbait sites out there, I'm not actually suspending the Acclaimed again. So so obviously that was in reference to the rap they had last month. And then Khan just said, you know what, I'm done with this. Let me bring out the Varsity Blondes. And then there was a short brawl between Bowens and Caster. Sorry, I don't know why I called him Carter, by the way. It's Max Caster. That's what I should have said. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And yeah, it was a nice little segment. So if you can look it out online, be sure to check it out. It probably will be on the YouTube channel maybe. But yeah, it was like a little fun segment to actually see Tony Khan come out for a little couple verses for the Acclaimed, and everyone gave him a lot of love for it. So yeah, big shout out to TK, man. Big shout out to TK. So we are moving swiftly on to our Honestly segment now. Yeah, I got a feeling, like I said, I didn't get that much positivity about my last Honestly segment when I said that that basically WWE fears AEW, or should I say Monday Night Raw fears AEW Dynamite, and they only put out a good show because of AEW. But yeah, this one might even be worse. All right, so basically, I don't think Vince McMahon is a genius. I just think he is a lucky son of a bitch. He is probably one of the most, if not the most luckiest men in wrestling history. I think so. Hear me out on this one. The reason I think this is simply because there's been numerous times where he has not liked certain wrestlers to the point where he never signed them, and they ended up being one of his biggest draws in the company. Sure, he's a good businessman, but it will take a lot to convince him and then prove that he's wrong. So you know, there's been numerous people and numerous even numerous match types that he absolutely hated and thought they were never going to sell, but they were like the biggest things. You know, they are a mandatory, they're a staple in WWE, like the Royal Rumble. That wasn't his idea. That was Pat Patterson's idea. And when Pat Patterson, the late great Pat Patterson, you know, laid out the layout of the match, he hated it. He absolutely reviled it. And you know, the reason it happened was because the network that they were on, he came up to Vince and said, look, we need something fresh, we need something new, all this kind of stuff. So Pat Patterson obviously pitched this. They trialed it at a house show, didn't quite go well, so Vince was just not happy with it. Then they tried it again. They had like a dinner with one of the network executives, and then Vince goes to Pat, hey pal, what are you gonna tell him about that bullshit? I'm really bad. I can't do impressions, but he basically said, like, what do you just tell them about that goofy idea that you have? Laid out the concept. The network execs loved it. They said, put it out now, put it out. Like, I want to see it on TV. And now look at it. Almost 30 years later, if not 30 years later, it is one of the biggest. It's one of the big four. It's one of the big four pay-per-views of WWE. You know, it's one of the main cards that all casual and hardcore fans come together and watch it. So you know, he's I think it takes a lot of convincing to convince him. There's been even numerous superstars that he's at one time completely reviled and said, you know, that they're too short or his face makes me sick. Like Christian, he said he didn't want to see Christian because something about his face makes him sick. He almost passed down John Cena, the biggest name in the modern day era, and you know, one of the biggest Hollywood actors right now. He almost turned him down simply because of the way he looked. He just looked like someone that's on steroids, which is kind of ironic considering he was part of a steroid scandal about him obviously giving the wrestlers steroids back in the 80s, 90s, whenever it may be. You know, he's even one time he refused to sign The Undertaker. He one time said that when The Undertaker was at, I think it was in WCW, he just said he was just like some tall basketball player. What am I going to do with a tall basketball player? And he just didn't see the money in him. And look, The Undertaker has one of the greatest gimmicks in the history of pro wrestling, basically. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of convincing him, because most of these people that I'm mentioning, I think it was mainly Jim Ross, had to take a lot of convincing to get Vince to sign him. And everyone gives all this credit to Vince when really he doesn't see money. Like, you really have to put it in front of him. And you know, somehow he decides to take a chance, and he was just like, oh wow, that kind of worked out better. It kind of worked out better than I anticipated. That's why I think he's just one of the luckiest guys in the world. I don't think he is he's a good businessman. You know, when it comes to money, for the most part, he knows how to make money. But in terms of seeing money in people, he's not that great at it. a lot of people that he has specifically chosen most of the time, they've often been duds. Lex Luger, great Khali to an extent. What's the guy? Mordecai. Who else did he push to the moon? Drew McIntyre was a dud. Drew McIntyre went in his first run. It was a dud. Sheamus, even though that was more Triple H's guy. But that many people that he has put himself, like he has chosen to try and be the face, or try to build them up. Most of the time they have been flops. Even Roman Reigns to an extent, maybe. He was Roman Reigns' guy, but I think he was Vince's guy. Took a long while getting there, and I think it was just you had to force Vince's hand to make him be the head of the table, the man that he is today. But yeah, there's been numerous times where this person has money, like they are money. There's money coming out of their ass, but he does not bother to bite for them. And it's really that's why I say, like, wait, after really enticing him or really convincing him that this person can be a great long-term investment. If anyhow, he never got The Undertaker. Shawn Michaels, he never really liked Shawn Michaels at the beginning. Chris Jericho, I think that's well documented that he didn't really like Chris Jericho at the beginning. John Cena, the biggest name. Imagine if he never liked those people, or he never put any time in them. Imagine, what would the landscape be for WWE right now? Like, who would be the face? It is actually crazy. Certain gimmicks, like I said, the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, he didn't really like, simply because it wasn't his idea. Anything that isn't his idea, he goes really cold on it, and it takes a lot of convincing. And then it's somehow but when it does work, all of a sudden he gets the plaudits. Sure, obviously he sets the stage, he has the platform to do it, but he was not part of the come up. You know what I mean? And it's really he has to be really thankful. I know he's defeated God, but he better be thanking God for the position that he's in, because I truly think he's one of the luckiest, if not the luckiest, guys in the professional wrestling industry. And I don't think he's a creative genius. He's just a business genius, not a creative genius. I remember there was when Jericho was on the Broken Skull sessions, and he says, like, obviously he was giving Vince the plaudits, where he was like, there's like a I think he used the what's that word? He basically used the analogy of, like, there's like a lot of chess pieces, and he's just like, all right, look at my masterpiece. And he was just like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but what if we move it right there? It's fucking amazing. It might be, obviously you gotta feed everything to him, and then he might add something else to it. But a lot of people, basically what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people give him too much credit. Too much credit, because if you really look at the history when it eventually comes out, and there's a lot of people, his biggest draws that he initially saw no money in, saw absolutely no money in, but it's us, we the people, and also some of his people backstage, his right hand men, had to really drill it into his skull and say, no, this person is money, we like this person can actually get the business up to higher heights. And yeah, it looks, there's even one point in time he said he didn't like Steve Austin. He didn't want to sign Steve Austin. He said when he eventually came, he said, you know what, I don't want him to talk. I want it to be a silent person, and I want someone else to be his mouthpiece. One of the greatest talkers in professional wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Imagine he never spoke, and we never got the what chance. We never would have gotten the stump a mud hole in his ass. All those classical promos. We would have never gotten that. That's why I'm saying he's a lucky person. I just think he's a lucky son of a bitch. But yeah, more power to him. You know, obviously we all wish that we was in his position in terms of financial wise, and you know, doing something that we all love. But yeah, when you just know, you definitely know when something is Vince's idea. Look at the, you know, forget the last 2 weeks of Raw, but prior to that, or even during the Thunderdome era, when it came to Monday Night Raw, you could tell that there was a lot of times where you could tell it was Vince's idea. And when it's Vince's idea, it stinks. You see what I'm getting at? You see what I mean? So when it comes from Vince, especially today's Vince, it usually stinks. When it's good, you're like, nah, this is too good to be true. This can't be Vince's idea. This is definitely from the writers, from the wrestlers there of themselves, that makes the segment or makes the match better. And you know, what does that tell you? You know what I mean? There's been plenty of times where everyone says that the script for Monday Night Raw gets thrown in the bin 2-3 hours before airtime, and then they cobble up something together which is mostly Vince's idea, and it ends up being a fucking dud. You know, so yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Vince for certain things that he's done, but yeah, I think a lot of people give him too much credit. A lot of people give him too much credit, and yeah, that's just my thing. That's why I honestly think of Vince. I don't think he is a creative genius. I think he's a business genius. But all in all, he is just a lucky man. He's just a lucky man, simple as. But yeah, other than that, guys, that has been my take on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, be sure to check out WrestlingRepublic.com for all the news, reviews, debates, opinions, honestly segments. And also be sure to check out at Wrestling Republic on the Instagram. And also to be sure to check me out on Instagram at official_TITTT. I'll be leaving it down here below. But yeah, I have been your host, Chaos, and this has been Taken to the Table. Until next time, guys. Peace.